to Out of the Darkroom on Adorama TV. I'm Ruth Medjber, and joining me on the show today is photographer Brendan O'Shea. Brendan is a master of iPhoneography, and he's going to share some great tips and tricks with us on how to get the best shots from our own iPhones.
Adorama TV presents Out of the Darkroom with Ruth Medjber.
So Brendan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
I know you're taking time out of your busy schedule. What is it that you're up to at the moment?
I came up on Tuesday to the Web Summit here in Dublin that as part of the Irish Tech News team.
Okay.
That I got the remit to come up and take some photographs with the iPhone and other cameras as well.
So the Web Summit's just like a big tech global gathering of
huge.
people who are mad into apps and startups and iPhoneography and all that kind of stuff. So you brought up 3 cameras to shoot this event.
Yeah.
What are they?
Nikon D7000, Fuji X100T, and the iPhone.
The iPhone.
And the
Okay.
iPhone, yeah.
So that's kind of. Am I right to assume or to say that the iPhone is your thing, or you're making it your thing?
It is and it isn't. I suppose that's what
Okay.
I've become known for because I've had a degree of success with the iPhone in the recent about a year or so. But I can try to blur the lines between the genres of photography, iPhone photography or DSLR photography. I think it's all photography and all cameras are mobile.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I suppose with the iPhone I have had the most success in the recent times in that.
The success that you're speaking about is that you won an award, didn't you, for one of your iPhone photographs?
Well, I think it kind of dates back to this time last year. I posted a photograph on Flickr, a photograph that I took in Copenhagen, and about 2 months later, representatives of Apple contacted me to license the photograph to use in their Shot on iPhone 6 campaign that went global in March, which meant that it was on billboards in 70 cities in 24 countries around the world. And then from that, there's kind of knock-on effect.
Yeah.
That I entered a few competitions. That same photograph won a competition. Then I had other photographs that I took with the iPhone that have subsequently won other competitions. So
wow. So you were kind of thrown into the whole iPhoneography type thing. You never set out to do it, but just so happened to be that you shot it on an iPhone.
Yeah. Like I think, like looking back, I suppose it was 2012 with the iPhone 4 that I really got into using the iPhone as a camera. I think that the quality, improved dramatically from the 3 to the iPhone 4. It coincided with Instagram as well, so that it was more of an opportunity to shoot, edit, and share.
Yeah.
And what I found myself is that having the iPhone with me, I went from a situation where before that I would have the DSLR and only take it out on occasion, and that when I was out, I had a lot of photographic opportunities that I'd noticed and wouldn't be able to get because I wouldn't have the camera with me. But having the iPhone with me, I went to a situation that I became much more alert, much more sensitive, much more aware of photographic opportunities, and as a result began to shoot much more. And like looking back, like especially this year, because of the things that happened to me, I was able to look back and realize that my development and evolution as a photographer really came from using the iPhone more and more. And because I think having the iPhone has a zoom, but the zoom is terrible on it, and because of that it requires you to be much more deliberate in the composition that you're setting up.
I've noticed as well in your travel photography, you kind of categorize your work by countries a lot of the time.
Yeah.
When you're going abroad, do you bring the iPhone or is it the D7000, or how do you work with that?
I'd bring any camera that I have.
Yeah.
And that I would I'd go out probably with 2 cameras. Like when I was in Tokyo in April, that I had the Fuji X100 with me, and I'd always have the iPhone with me, but I kind of vary it between the style of photography that I want to do. Like if I'm doing blur abstract work, I would use the Nikon, the D7000, more so than the Fuji. I think that the Nikon is much easier to use than the Fuji, I found.
Tell me a little bit about your process then when you're out and about doing street photography in the likes of Tokyo and that kind of stuff. Do you go intentionally to take photos on a day saying, today I'm going to do street photography and I'm going to look for this shape, this kind of colour? Or do you just go about your business, go do whatever you need to do in Tokyo and just take the camera with you and see what happens?
I always have the camera with me, so it's not it's not a case of that I'm going to go out now with the camera for the next hour or two. I would when I'm out on the streets, I'm always more alert and sensitive to the photographic opportunities that may appear. Having the iPhone makes it much easier because it's discreet and that people may not know if you're using it as a phone or as a camera and that. And with practice again that I've developed the ability to get in close without people realizing what I'm actually doing, and that for candid
That's like
photographs.
your style. You know how to do that now, just through practice, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also being able to read the situation and kind of judge the type of person how they might react. I put myself in the position if I was in their position, would I like to be photographed in that, and I can have boundaries like that.
Quite respectful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose sometimes like later on, like on the rare occasion you come back and you look at a photograph and realize that what you've captured is could be somebody like sharing kind of a very emotional moment or something like that. And I wouldn't do that.
So, Brendan, maybe you could tell me then a little bit about your post-production process, particularly when you've taken a shot on the iPhone. So, what goes on before it comes to us on Instagram or on Flickr?
Okay, so like that, I'd look through the photographs taken from a particular day. I usually set up an album so that I can get them all into that, and then when I'm going through them, I would click the favorite button, which makes it easier for me to access when I go to work on Snapseed. That my go-to app on the iPhone would be Snapseed. I think that it is, it's a one-stop shop. Everything that I want to do, I'm able to do with it. I found in recent times, I'm doing less post-processing. That I can try to get as much done in camera as I can. But then I would pull the image into Snapseed, work a little bit with the on the detail, adjust the contrasts a little, and lately I like the film. Filters that they have, the grainy film filters that they have, and I probably would just apply one of those, and that would be it. And then,
am I right in assuming that that's how you got the effect for your series, the Always Leaving series?
the thing about those actually is that there's very little post processing in those. That most of that is done in camera. That I did that with the iPhone 4, which was before that, and it was just intentional camera movement, so that I would have the phone down like this, and very very quickly pop it up. And then you'd have the distorted, fluid, blurred figure of the person taking the photograph of.
That's fantastic.
And that, as the iPhones have developed, the image stabilization has improved, and it's more and more difficult to do this.
You can't trick it anymore.
Yeah, so like that series of photographs would have been nearly all taken with the iPhone 4 or the iPhone 5.
Is there anything, the accessories and that kind of stuff? I mean, I'm shooting on the iPhone and I find that I have very little control. I can tap for exposure and I can tap for focus, and that's kind of my limit. How do you, I'm looking at your macro shots and things like that.
Yeah, well, like recently I've started to work with this fantastic little lens here from Olloclip, which is a 4-in-1 lens, and really, really easy to attach. It just clips onto the iPhone. And that this one has 4 different lens types. If you unscrew it here, you get a macro.
Okay.
And it allows you to get in exceptionally close to get the detail that you want. But there's also a fisheye and a wide angle lens. So that would be one of the accessories that I use, and it just adds an extra dimension to the.
And it's quite small, so you can just carry it around with you.
Yeah,
it beats carrying 4 massive lenses for your DSLR.
And the quality is really, really good. Like there are other lenses out there that I experimented with, but the quality is probably
the Olloclip.
Yeah, definitely is the best.
Another series that I really love of yours is the punctuation series. Maybe you can explain to us, without giving all your tricks away, how you do that, how you do the series.
It's like the best things in life come from accidents, and I was on Lightroom that there was one of the figures' heads that I wasn't happy with, and I was using the cloning tool to try to correct it. The cloning tool on Lightroom is circular, spherical, and that when I had it on the head, I realised that what I had originally intended to do of trying to, to work it out looked much better when there was a sphere, a bokeh head as they call them, on top of it, and I just ran with that.
Tell me a little bit then, for the viewers watching this, and I think it's always interesting for me as well to find out where photographers. I mean, I love your work, I love what you do. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I always want to know if this is your full-time gig, or or is this a hobby? What's the level that you're at?
It's not a full-time gig.
No.
I'm a language teacher working at University College Cork, and this photography is it's my passion. It's what I do. It consumes me outside work, and that since the kind of exposure with Apple and winning the competitions and that, I've had lots of opportunities come my way in that, and I'm enjoying all of that.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying all of that, but I'm very fortunate that the job that I do, I love it.
Yeah.
I get a lot of satisfaction from it, and I'm doing workshops at the moment and doing them in conjunction with the Glucksman Gallery in Cork.
So you're teaching workshops on how to use the iPhone better for photography?
Yeah.
I need to do this.
And I'm also doing, I've one coming up in the Gallery of Photography in Dublin at the end of this month, and I'm planning to have more workshops again in 2016. So.
Oh, so
There's
I'll have to
yeah.
put that in my book. And what kind of stuff do you go through then in the workshop?
Well, you see, like the profile of people that would come in could be people who have, just bought an iPhone, don't know how to use it, or you could have people who are coming from, a DSLR background, wanting to use it, or people who've used the iPhone for quite a lot. So I go through, the very basics in using the iPhone, the basic settings in it, and then, how to manage light, composition, and the post-processing thing as well.
Listen, thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you
Thank you
Thanks,
so much for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Cheers, Brendan.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to start the conversation, then just leave me a comment below. I do appreciate the feedback. If you want to brush up on your own photography skills, then check out the Adorama Learning Centre. And as always, if you want to see more videos, then subscribe to the Adorama YouTube channel. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.